Oh, all the windows are open. Happy Sunday, everybody, and namaste. My name is KJ Hamus, and welcome to our Sunday yin practice. Depending on where you're at, it could be really hot or rainy. Here in Washington, D.C., it is very, very hot and humid, so I hope wherever you're at, you're staying cool and comfortable as you do that. I'm really excited about today's practice because we're going to focus on letting ourselves truly embrace rest. And this might be a particularly challenging practice because we don't actually give ourselves a lot of permission oftentimes to take the full rest we need, and allowing ourselves to do that without feeling guilt, without feeling like we should be doing something more. I know I'm guilty of this. So we're going to explore that and explore what that means for you and your body. A couple things you may want to have today, as always, blocks or yoga block equivalents, a blanket, and then 1 or 2 pillows. We're going to work into the upper body a bit. And so depending on how your shoulders are feeling today, depending on just where your mobility is at in this moment, 1 or 2 pillows might prove to be really soothing and really, really supportive. So I would go ahead and grab those if you don't already have them. If you're like, I feel good, then don't worry about it. The props just help support our practice so we can get a chance to rest and to be a little bit deeper in our body and experience what we're experiencing. So with that said, I'm going to invite you to take a comfortable seat today. Let that comfortable seat, if you choose to take it, be whatever is going to feel good. So crisscross applesauce. Maybe you're going to extend the legs out long. Maybe you move to a wall just to help support your back. Feel free to do that as well. You can always sit up on something to help feel maybe a bit more rooted, or lift the hips up a bit more. I don't know about you, my pillow feels very cool right now on my sit bones, so that might feel really refreshing to you as well. Whatever the reasoning is, go ahead and I invite you to take your comfortable seat, and if that doesn't feel good, feel free to take any comfortable position. As you begin to take that initial position, I just want to remind you that you are the ultimate authority and teacher in your own body. So start to, even now in this moment, give yourself permission to do what is going to feel best for you and your body, regardless of what I may be guiding today during the practice. This is for you. This is your practice. So always, 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 and truly do what feels best for you. We take a moment here, start to close the eyes, find a soft point for our gaze, to acknowledge these stewards who've come before us on the land that we are currently on. We acknowledge how these stewards have tended the land. We acknowledge the energy that they infused into this land. Here in Washington, D.C., we are on Anacostan land, so we honor those stewards, we honor that tribe. We also take time to, not only in this moment, but throughout our practice, honor the full roots of yoga. Honor the indigenous teachers who have cultivated this practice and given us this practice. As we remind ourselves that it is an ancient practice from India, and that yoga was cultivated and codified and what have you by the black and brown yogis on that land. And so we do send respect and gratitude and honor to those yogis and to those indigenous teachers who have continued up those traditions so we may learn and grow within the practice. Settling in here, I invite you to bring one hand over the heart and the other hand over that hand. As you tune into your breath, tuning into the physical beating of your heart. Maybe you're able to hear the blood pumping and flowing through the body. Can you feel the beating of the heart not only in your hands, but how it moves with the breath. Does the breath affect the beating of the heart, or is the beating of the heart affecting the breath? I invite you, start to go a little bit deeper as you listen to your heartbeat. And I invite you to acknowledge and become aware of what might be weighing on your heart emotionally today. What might you feel entangled in your heart? So oftentimes in our yoga practice, we think of the mind, the head, as sort of the leader of the pack because that's where the brain is. But in Chinese medicine, the heart, the physical organ in the heart meridian, is actually the queen of all of the other organs and the systems of the body. So if we think about it in those terms, what could be restricting the queen from helping us live in a heart-centered way, from helping us feel what we might need to be feeling? And do your best to approach this without judgment, without fear, and compassion and love for yourself and what is weighing on you in your heart. And as you start to acknowledge and become aware of what is happening in this space, both physically and emotionally, start to think about or visualize what you might be able to do to maybe lift the weight off the heart, maybe untangle it just a little bit. Can you set an intention today of using the practice and using this idea of rest to give yourself more space to maybe explore a bit more what is weighing on the heart, or even let go of? So as we move through each shape, thinking, how am I leading with the heart? How am I able to just find a bit more comfort and release here in this moment to truly embrace rest? And as you continue to explore that intention, I invite you to notice too, with what you're bringing with you in your heart space, where you might be feeling those emotions or intentions throughout the rest of the body. So while it could be really tangled in the heart, it could be manifesting itself energetically or physically, even mentally in other parts of the body. Noticing where you're finding those physical entanglements, maybe that is the part that's affecting the emotion and not the other way around. Take just a few more breaths here. And we'll continue to explore this throughout the practice. So it's okay if you're still like, I've got things to figure out. Don't worry, we got time. We're in absolutely no rush. On your next inhale, I invite you to open your eyes, interlacing your fingers, lifting your arms up overhead, taking a slight back bend, if you will, maybe moving away from the wall if you'd like. Thinking of the spine and the slight back bend as a way to strengthen the back, not break. Taking one more breath in, and then as you exhale, round the back, maybe push the wall or the computer in front of you away. Inhale, lift up, maybe taking up a bit more space with a scooping motion, inviting in the back bend if that feels good. Exhale, round the back. Continue to move with your breath. Notice how this feels in the body, physically and even emotionally. Sometimes as we move in our different shapes, to create more space, we can actually bring up other tensions or anxiety. So just notice that if that comes up, feeling free to stop if you need to, or maybe even extending the arms out longer if that feels good. Just explore the shape in your body. Take about 2 more rounds here. And on your next inhale, as your arms reach up long overhead, feeling the spine stretch as far as it wants to go without being aggressive. On your next exhale, we'll take a gentle twist over to the right. Left hand comes to the left knee. Right hand can come behind you. Maybe it rests on the back, can rest on the ground, your pillow or a block. To help make this a little gentler in the body, don't force the twist. And maybe as you inhale, you find a little bit more length in the spine. And then as you exhale, allow the shoulder to open. See what happens in that space. Notice if you're feeling stuck, what might be stopping you? Is it the physical movement of the spine? Because there's a point where the spine won't rotate. Or is it the physical and emotional movement of the heart? We'll take one more breath in here. And breath out. As you inhale, reach the arms back up overhead, interlace the fingers, stretch up as far as you want to go. And then as you exhale, we'll twist to the left. Again, working toward your version of a gentle twist, and that can be different for every person, but avoiding forcing anything, trying to make the movement happen from the mid-back. Feel free on every inhale to find a little bit more length, even twisting a bit more toward the center. And then as you exhale, if you'd like, a little bit more openness, opening up the left shoulder to the back. If it feels good, you can continue to look straight ahead, or maybe you bring your gaze to your back shoulder, up to you. Take one more breath here, and breath out. You inhale, reach the arms up long overhead, take a slight back bend if you'd like. And then as you exhale, reach forward, whatever position you have with the legs. Make this nice and soft here. Let everything fall where it wants to fall. Don't pull yourself forward. If you're crisscross applesauce and your hips come off, that's fine. Let that happen. Really let the back round. We're going to be here for 5 breaths. And so even in this 5 breaths, how can you find a bit more rest here? What can you start to let go of that isn't serving you? And that, again, may be restricting you physically and emotionally right now. Or even begin to observe what's popping up as you take this forward fold. On your next inhale, we're just going to walk the fingertips back toward the body. And then bring your right hand underneath your left for an eagle arm. If this doesn't feel good today, go for the big hug. Sometimes that can feel really good, not only physically, but emotionally too. As we bring our arms into eagle arms, just lift them up. Feel the movement in the shoulder blades. Notice how this feels in the body. And then as you exhale, round the back, dome it in. So the seated cat-cow with an eagle arm. Inhale, maybe scoop forward, lift up. Notice the movement of the shoulder blades and the shoulders. And then round the back, dome it in. We'll take one more here. Inhale up. And then exhale around. As you inhale, release the arms, shake them out. We'll take 3 just in the other direction. So we'll draw our right arm on top, left arm on bottom. Inhale, lift. Exhale, round the back. Move with your breath, 2 more. And notice the movement in the body. Notice the movement in the breath. Maybe even closing the eyes for this last one. Just letting the breath, the heart guide you. And we'll inhale, lift up, and shake it on out. So just a little gentle movement today to open us up, move maybe some of the energy around in the body, so we can hopefully get in more tune. Okay, so we're going to start with what might feel like a restorative shoulder opener. So listening to your shoulders, understanding where your shoulders are at, you might want 1 or 2 pillows here. This can just help support the shoulders. So place 1 pillow on the ground and then take your blocks and place them on the other side of the pillow. You can always place the blanket across the pillows if you'd like, or maybe you just stack it up, not even worrying about the blocks too. Again, this is all just going to depend on how open not only your shoulders feel physically, but where you're at emotionally, because this may open the heart up a bit. And depending on what you're carrying with you, might be like, that could be too much. And that's okay. Legs are going to do whatever they want. Crisscross applesauce, out straight, maybe butterflied, totally up to you. Let your head rest in front of the pillow as you reach your arms on the pillow. And you just reach them up. Let the shoulders fall and release where they will. So we're not looking for a ton of crazy intensity here. This might feel super intense, again, just depending on the mobility of your shoulders. And there's nothing wrong with your mobility. It just is our way our body works. So we're going to honor that. Depending on how tight the shoulders might feel, that second pillow can really just provide a little additional support. We're going to breathe here. So take a couple of breaths to settle in. And throughout the duration of this shape, I invite you to notice what happens physically and emotionally here. Again, this one might be opening up the heart a lot for you, so that might feel a bit restrictive, that might feel a bit unsafe, or it could be the release that you need to create more space to truly start to get at some of the gunk you might be bringing in with you, or make more space for the positive things that you're hoping to make more space for. As you settle in, what can you do in this moment, coming back to our intention, to find or start to find rest in the shape? Maybe if we use a bit more props to feel more supported, or we change our foot position, how can that help us release? If you do need to move, that's okay. Sometimes as the energy starts to move, or the body opens up physically, that can bring up uncomfortable feelings, or it can even help us get too deep into the shape. We don't want to be too deep into anything. So feel free to take mindful movements to readjust, to come out, shake things out, move the energy around a bit before rejoining. And closing the eyes here, if that feels good. I invite you to continue to check in with yourself, concentrating the mind, concentrating the breath on the heartbeat. Take one more full breath in here. And full breath out. Gently start to lower your hands. Maybe just taking a little bit of movement with them. Circles might feel good. Stretching if you'd like. And then as you're ready, the arms fall by your sides. Feet can stay in whichever way is just going to feel best for you and your body. Take a moment here to notice what happens when you come out of the shape. You might notice something physical with the shoulders. You're like, oh, they might feel a bit more open, or they could even feel a bit more tight. Things to start to explore. But even with the shape not being super intense, can you notice a softer place in the rest of your body? Are you able to achieve even a bit more rest here in this moment? Or is there still some stuff that might need to be unbound first? There's no right or wrong answer. These are just questions to explore. I invite you to explore them as you'd like. And taking one more full breath here. Full breath out. And roll onto your favorite side. Curling up to just a gentle ball. Giving yourself a really big hug. Allow your arms to wrap around you in whichever way feels good. And then from here, rolling over onto all fours. You might want to grab your towel or your blanket here and keep a pillow maybe close by. We come into puppy pose. And so the reason I recommend the towel or the blanket is just to have something underneath your knees that might feel a bit more comfortable. And with this shape, we're going to start in tabletop. We're going to begin to, booty will likely stay in the air, and you'll start to walk your hands out long in front of you, working to draw the heart closer to the ground. A pillow might come in handy to bring the ground closer to you or even soften the ground underneath you. By having that pillow, though, you could find it intensifies the curve in the back, so be mindful of that and decide if that feels good in the body or if that's a distraction today. This is going to help us work into the heart, so be mindful of where you're at emotionally, but it's going to help us start to open up the shoulders. So again, you decide the level of intensity that's going to feel good to you both physically and emotionally, and feel free to find gentle movement in the shape if you need it. With everything, as we settle in, take a couple of breaths to come back to the intention. Or the intention you may have set. Is there a way to let go a little bit more? To find rest. Chin or forehead can be on the mat, or it might feel good to draw one cheek. Just making sure that at some point you turn to the other cheek. Let's take one more full breath here. And full breath out. Depending on what's going to feel good, you can slide forward, or maybe you sit back on your knees. If you slid forward, it might feel good to bend at the knees, windshield wiper the feet from side to side. And then invite you wherever you're at, just to let the hands and the arms kind of just fall by the sides. And check back in and notice how you're feeling right now in this moment. And allow whatever is coming up to come up. Are you able to here even release a bit more? Maybe the feet flop a bit more out to the sides. You start to feel a heaviness that's accompanied by a release in the body. And then from here, we're going to move into our next shape. We'll move into mummy pose. Depending on what level your blanket is on, you may consider keeping it for this shape, or you may just want to move it completely. And we'll start off in Sphinx pose. Make this a very light Sphinx so we're not stretching too much in the abdomen. And we'll begin by drawing our right hand underneath our left. So thread the needle. And as you do that, extend your left hand long. So this is half mummy. This is a great place to stay and a great variation. So you're welcome to stay here. You can come into sleeping mummy, another variation, by bending the arm and using the bent arm as a pillow. And then so our third variation will be mummy attempting to give itself a hug, not yet quite succeeding. Arms are going to be out long as they draw across the body, palms face up. And again, this can look very different from what I'm doing, just depending on your shoulders, your arm length, all of those factors. So don't think you have to achieve this. Go with where your body's at in this moment. With this shape, we're working into our back muscles. In particular, we're looking into the rhomboids and the trapezius here. And so you might notice varying and differing levels of tightness. If we think about it in a lot of ways, the back side of the body is there to help us protect and feel safe in the front side of the body. And so, but if it gets really, really tight, it might not be able to do its job, or we may not feel completely secure in that knowledge that the back is there to help us protect our heart and our other organs. So with everything, ease into it as feels good. Try and find a place of release and of rest here. You can even consider bringing a block underneath the forehead if you'd like, if that's too much on the neck. Or just resting your chin wherever you'd like. wherever you're at, the final breath in this shape, as you begin to uncoil, maybe bringing the arms out to a T, gently rocking from side to side if that feels good. Just take a moment of pause. Notice how you feel. And then as you feel ready, begin to make your way back up to Sphinx pose. We come into the other side. So we'll draw our left hand underneath our right this time. Same variations. You might notice some differences. So the variation you took on the first side may not necessarily serve you here. Feel free to take a different variation. So if you were in mummy attempting to give itself a hug and you come into that now, you're like, that doesn't feel good. Take sleeping mummy or half mummy. Just explore that shape as the muscles are being activated in slightly different ways. And settling into this side, how are you able to let yourself rest here? What can you take physically, mentally, and emotionally to find a place to sink into? Be letting the guilt go of only doing one thing, noting that unitasking is awesome. That's all we're doing right now. As you're ready, taking one final breath here. Slowly uncoiling as you'd like. You're bringing the arms once again out to a T. At this time, letting them rest by the sides. What do you notice here from this shape? Has the shape allowed you to open up in other ways? Has it maybe hinted at or started to expose other areas of tension or places you're feeling entangled or feeling the weight of the world on? As you're ready, we're going to bring our arms out to the T. Keep them out of the T gurney there. We're going to come into our final shape, which is going to be an open wing pose. And you may consider having a block or a pillow nearby just to help support the neck and keep the rest of the spine in line. So with our arms out to a T, let's take this on the left side first. Bring your arms out to a T. Your right hand's going to come underneath your right shoulder. From here, begin to just gently roll over onto your left side. Now, many variations can happen with the legs. So if you notice right now, this is the arm variation. Switch so you can see my legs a little bit better. So you can start, if you'd like, to draw the knees into the chest. That might feel really nice, just to bring the knees in. You may keep the legs straight, stacked one on top of the other. You can always bring your top leg, your right leg, inside the left foot, or even on the outside. You may want to consider butterflying your legs. Note, though, that if you do that, depending on where your shoulders are at, that could add an extra, little extra tinge in the shoulder that may not feel so comfortable. Or some sort of combination there. So take what feels good. Always an option, too, with your shoulder, depending on what type of floor you're on, what mat you're using, to put a little extra cushioning underneath there, just to help protect the joint. Notice how your head feels. If it feels that the neck is below the rest of the spine, consider propping up on a block or even a pillow here to help lift that up to keep everything in line. And then your right hand, finally, a couple variations. You can keep it here. You can let it rest, or maybe even bring it behind you in some fashion. Again, each variation can change the intensity of the shape, and so you decide what feels best for you. As you settle a bit more into this shape, again, be mindful of where your emotions are at, where your heart's at. Feeling free to come out of it whenever you need to. We'll be here for about another minute. And as you're ready, after your next breath, go ahead and begin to uncurl, taking any movement that's going to feel good, finding a brief place of rest or a puddle pose, if you will. Just melting the body into the earth, letting go. As we're starting to come up on the end of our practice, as we move into the next side in a bit, and then move into Shavasana, reminding ourselves to not check our cell phones. The world will still be there when we're done. Give yourself permission to close out this practice for you. And then as you're ready, extending the arms nice and long out to the sides once again. Right into our right side here. Bending the left hand underneath, rolling on to your left side. Sorry, your right side, excuse me. Left arm can do whatever it needs to do. Legs can also do whatever they need to do here. And if there's a variation I've shown in the legs and you know a different one, and the ones I offer don't feel good, great, do that other one. And then send me a note, let me know what it is so I can offer it as well. And after your next breath, go ahead and begin to unwind. Letting your arms just come down by your sides. If there's any movement that feels good to you on your way to this place, feel free to take that. Starting to move into your Savasana. That can be on your belly, on your back. You may decide to move to a wall and bring your legs up the wall. Different kind of rest and release. Maybe you want to go lay on the couch or in your bed or wherever starts to feel good for you. And as you begin to settle into this final resting space, we're going to take 3 breaths together. I'm going to invite you to take 3 breaths with me, as I call them. And as we take the breath, we're really on the inhale, we're going to tense up all of our muscles, make a really sour face, and then we'll let everything go on the exhale. So letting everything go here, take a deep, slow breath in, feeling the fingers tense, the toes tense, the butt kind of grip, the abs come together, squeeze, tense it all up, really pucker the face. And then exhale, let everything release, everything let go. We'll do that twice more. On your breath, inhale, slow, steady. Start to feel everything tense. Maybe it's like you're holding 2 stress balls and you're going to try and squeeze the life out of them. And then let go. And then one final time, if that feels right to you, just letting the exhale be a place of softening, allowing yourself to get 5 to 10% more comfortable. And I invite you to give yourself permission here to just sink into the earth and let go. See if you can let go of any cares or worries at this moment to truly embrace rest. Again, this might be the most challenging part of the practice. How can we truly rest so we can recharge and then go back out into the world and continue to do the good work and be there for others and show up to create equality in all the spaces that we're in. Begin to reawaken the senses, inviting some gentle movement back into the body. Maybe taking a big, deep stretch, wiggling fingers and toes. Beginning to softly transition, as you're ready, staying here as long as you'd like, to a comfortable seat. When you do arrive in that comfortable seat, if it calls to you, bring one hand over the heart and the other hand over that hand. Ending where we began. As you breathe here, tune back into your heartbeat. Tune back into how it's moving and flowing in the body. Begin to notice what you're carrying in your heart with you today. It might have changed from the beginning. Were you able to create a bit more space in the body so that maybe you can explore what's going to feel best when you're ready to? And as we move forward into this coming week, I invite you to do some check-ins with your heart. Making sure that the actions you're taking, the words that you're speaking, feel good coming from this place. And you're coming from a place that is heart-centered and creating not only peace for yourself, hopefully peace and equality for others. As we bring our hands to Anjali Mudra, palms together, we bow our heads once again in a moment of gratitude. Gratitude for the stewards who came on this land before us. Gratitude towards ourselves for making time for our practice. And gratitude to those who joined us today to create this virtual community in this virtual space. As we lift our thumbs to the space between the eyes, our third eye center, we take a moment here to pause and honor the indigenous teachers of this practice, thanking them for their knowledge, for their wisdom, and continued support. I invite you to bow forward if that feels good, honoring yourselves and those around you. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Peace, Peace, Peace. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your night and a wonderful week. Oh my goodness.